My name is Hank Garner, and I lost over 100 pounds on a low-carb lifestyle, and I got my life back. My goal now is to help as many people as I can find health and happiness through this lifestyle. Welcome to my low-carb journey.
I'd like to tell you about our sponsor, Life Shots. You can find Life Shots on the web at low-carb Life Shots, that's with a Z, lifeshotswithaz.com. Life Shots is the only supplement that I recommend for its age-defying formula. It's full of antioxidants for the immune support. It's a great vitamin D supplement. Each serving has 2,000 IU of vitamin D. So if you're like me and supplement with vitamin D every day, Life Shots is a great way to do that. It's a great mood enhancer and a great source of natural energy. So if you're one of those people that needs coffee every morning to get up and get going, instead, try Life Shots. Give them a visit right now on the web, low-carb-lifeshots.com.
Thanks for joining me today on this episode of the Journey Podcast. And we will title this one Castle Grok Redux. I've got my special guest today was on the show just a few weeks ago, Castle Grok, and he has agreed to come back on the show and talk about some things and catch up from when we talked last time, talk about some changes that have happened with me and with him, and maybe answer some of the questions that have come up since the last time we talked with our first pro-carb guest on the show. Welcome to the show, Grok.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, good. So last time we talked was actually, I think, a couple months ago, and you were recently involved with the Ironman there in Hawaii, weren't you?
Yeah, I was just helping out during it, and kind of. I wasn't in the event.
Right.
It's a qualification event, and I didn't have a qualifier race to get in it, but I might do it next year if I can qualify. My age group isn't the easiest one to qualify in, considering the guy that wins it's in my age group. So, Yeah. But
so, what was it like seeing all those folks come to town, it's probably pretty intense, huh?
It is. If it's like if you're into cycling, running, or swimming, it's kind of the who's who of everybody. I mean, there's just, if you know anything about, athletes, or if those are your heroes or anything, they're here. And all the big vendors, bicycles and running shoes and all that stuff, they're all here, and you can buy all this equipment and see all the latest, greatest stuff, that's uncurtained, like, Specialized, and those guys, they brought out their new bikes and stuff. And Chris McCormick was there, and he was introducing it, and they open it up so you can see the new bikes. And I mean, it's a show. It's a show. And then, the athletes too. This was my first time here for it, and I didn't realize how many people are from foreign countries, and just kind of how different the perception on like endurance athlete is in other places. It's like you'll hear Durian Rider say, the word fit all the time. This person isn't fit. Well, that's, except for the United States, I would say that's a pretty well-used term elsewhere in the world, from just from my observations from these people that came from all over the place. They're like, wow, this is fit, mate, and they don't see it as, something that's going to, make you skinny fat and kill your heart and all this stuff, which it can if you do it wrong, but I'm not saying that, but it's just different, like not so much unlike their views on food and stuff over there, where they don't really have as much the processed crap that we do yet. So
what do you think the difference is in that fit athlete and what we tend to do to people here in the States, and work people into skinny fatness and things like that? What do you think the difference is?
I don't really know. I think one, we're just lazy. And it's just easier to not do that stuff. And then I do think as far as the skinny fat thing, it comes back to the food. I mean, we're not really eating food. We're, Jonas Colting, even on Jimmy Moore's show, he has Jonas Colting on there, and Colting talks about, these really good athletes and stuff. A lot of the time, they don't actually eat real food because they're training so much that they're just living on like gels and, electrolyte drinks and stuff like that.
Right.
And that's where Jonas, credits he doesn't credit it to low carb. He credits it to eating real food, the longevity of his career, because, he does eat food. He makes these banana pancakes and, and eats this whole dairy and, all this stuff that he does. And that, that seems a lot more healthful to me than just eating gels all the time,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's the gels. I mean, not all of them are so bad anymore, but it's still a processed food.
Yeah. And they're pretty much pure sugar. I mean,
yeah.
At the end of the day.
Depends on the brand, some are mostly maltodextrin, the goos and things like that. But then you have some of them, I don't know, the ones that have like honey in the title where they, they're more natural type thing. I actually don't know that they're probably better for fueling. I think the maltodextrin ones probably are. But, Mark Sisson used to even say he used to peddle maltodextrin as rocket fuel. And so, I mean, they know that it works.
Yeah. It's just simple sugar. I mean,
I think it's just to make you feel good.
Right.
If you're eating honey instead of maltodextrin. Bottom line.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're still not eating a whole food with, balanced vitamins and minerals and nutrition and stuff in it. So,
right.
Anyway, that's kind of where I go with it. I try and train as much as I can, and I'm by no means a professional athlete, but I do put in a lot of hours, and I try and eat food versus, gels or anything. Matter of fact, I never hardly eat gels. I have them in my pack just in case, I'm way away from home and just totally bonked out and it's hotter than hell and I have to have some nutrition. Then they're more of like an emergency thing.
Right.
And plus, if you cut a tire, you can use them as a kind of a patch for the inside of the tire so the tube doesn't pop out.
Like fix a flat.
Yeah, well, it's like a liner because the bike tires are so high pressure, and there's even the tiniest cut in your tire that when you blow it up, at 110, 20 psi or whatever, the tube will pop out the tire and then blow again. So you eat the goo and you take the package and you stick it in there as a layer between the tube and the tire, so that because it's almost like it's not a dollar bill's like Tyvek material, so that'll work too. But it's just a real hard plastic that isn't gonna give, so the tube butts up against that instead of pushing through the hole in the tire. So it's one of those ways to get home. So anyway, but I do a little bit of see, after the first interview that I had with you, I got hyponatremia because I was drinking too much water.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily too much water during my exercise, but it was too much water just being at home. Yeah. I always had it with me, and I got an electrolyte imbalance that way. And so I've actually included a little bit of sodium back in. I do about 400 milligrams a day roughly. And that's through food and through usually Gatorade. I just put like one little scoop of Gatorade in one of my water bottles, and that way, and it actually helps me feel less bloated too. And I can get away with drinking a little bit less water, but still be hydrated. Wow. Because the salt, if you drink a lot of that crap and it's just on your tongue and I don't know, it's just gross. But yeah. I've seen that the little bit actually does help me. And I suppose once I get it kind of dialed a little bit better, I could, switch to maybe sea salt and lemon juice or something, more, food based. But for now, I just go buy a little thing of Gatorade powder and just drop one in there and take off, Yeah.
Now, brings up
it's not like it's a source of calories.
Right. Well, that brings up a good question, though, because some people are, adamant about this, drink gallons of water a day, and not even approaching electrolyte replenishment from exercise, but there's this conventional wisdom thing that well, if you're going to be healthy or if you're going to drop weight, you got to drink a gallon or 2 gallons of water a day, and I just can't do it. It does weird things to me, So I go by the rule of drink when I'm thirsty, and I don't buy this thing about that once you're thirsty it's too late. It's never That's never been a problem for me.
I actually started a post, and I think it was probably back about the time that we recorded.
Yeah.
And so it was right after that. And it was because I got this hyponatremia thing. And, I wouldn't say I was force feeding myself the water, but I just kept it around so that I would drink it. I mean, I wasn't necessarily thirsty, but it was there, and it's hot here, and it's easy to grab. And if you have it there, I mean, I've got one right next to me right now, but in fact, I just drank some. So,
I was hoping that's what that sound was.
Yeah, I was drinking too much, and it did become a problem. And it took a long time for it to, but it was 20+ hour training weeks and really hot, and just one day it was extra hot, and then I had extra water with me. And so it's like, okay, I have it with me. I might as well drink it. It's 100 degrees out here in this lava field, and I'm riding into the wind and the direct sunlight. It's freaking scorching. I'm wearing 50 block, 3 layers deep. And and so I just drank it. And then, my heart started doing crazy stuff for the next few days. And I practically freaking drowned out in the ocean because I had a panic attack because my heart freaked out. And so I just got the sodium back in there and relaxed a little bit and took a little bit of time off, a few days off, and everything balanced out, and I went back to normal. And I've been doing that same thing ever since, just being a little bit more cautious with the little bit of sodium. I mean, it's really not much. I think it's not even a third of what the government recommends in the USDA stuff.
Yeah.
I think I'm not for sure on this, but I think it's the USDA is like 1,500 milligrams maybe or something. But anyway, it's not much sodium, and a lot of it I do some seaweeds and stuff like that, so the sodium comes from that. And then if I do rice or something, I cook it in seawater a lot of the time, and so I get the minerals and stuff that way too. But I don't know, I'm just screwing around with it.
I got you.
It's fun. I don't know. I guess if you're a nerd, it's fun.
Yeah, we were talking, and we've talked quite a bit since our last interview, and emailing back and forth and stuff. And we were talking right before I started recording, and you were talking about this desire and this need to push yourself to do insane things. Mm-hmm. And you're, and we were kind of laughing about it because people probably think that you're crazy and stuff, but I totally get it. That I was my attitude is, I was the Walking Dead for so long that, I am alive. I wake up every day alive, thankful to be alive. And,
and I've got to do something with that energy.
Yeah. And I've got this body that I've been working hard on, and it's, looking better and working better every day. And why would I want to get by with the bare minimum? And this is one thing, Mark Sisson, God love him. I really, really appreciate all the things that he's done. But this one thing that I've heard him say over and over, and it grates on me every time I hear him say it, is that he said, I don't really necessarily want to put all the work in to be fit. I want to look fit.
Yeah.
And I understand where he's coming from, because he came from a whole different place than me, and he was an endurance athlete that burned out, and I get that, and I'm not. But
and I've kind of written a post on that.
Man, it drives me crazy every time I hear him say it. Because I'm coming from a whole different place, man. I am so happy to be alive, and I want to push my body to do everything.
And you enjoy running where he didn't. He took it out of. I really like his thing on play. He really goes into play.
Yes.
But for you, running is play.
Yeah, it is.
And I mean, and as long as you keep it that way, I think it's perfectly healthy sport.
Yeah.
What happens is, Mark was eating all this damn junk food.
Exactly.
And he was running 100+ miles a week, which I know a lot of people actually run a lot more than that.
Right.
And but he was running really fast at a high intensity, and he was dreading those runs. He would talk about going out with his friends or whatever, and hating that he was going to have to do 15 miles the next morning or whatever. And it's just. And so he's not into that anymore, and I see that's where he's coming from. But guys like you and I, that didn't happen to us.
Right.
So
I wish he would have continued to run, but fueled on real food. And I wonder what would have.
But he blew his knees out on the junk food.
Yeah. So, I wonder if he was dreading the feeling he got from the junk food. But Mark, if you're listening to this, I know you're not, but if you are, shoot us an
Yeah.
email and tell us what you really think about it.
Well, I had a diet not all that much different than his. He talks about eating, lots of grains and ice cream and stuff. That's all I did too. We just sit down to buckets of ice cream. Horrible inflammation in your body. I thought I was going to have knee surgery too, and I probably would have had I not changed, the path that I was on.
Yeah.
And being that he was on that path and he was pushing his body way harder than I was, even though I guess I was in motocross and it was thrashing the hell out of myself. But, it did get him, and I pulled out and I escaped that. And I'm very excited about that too, because, they never fix that crap right.
Right.
They never do.
Yeah.
So
Man.
I'm glad that I'm out in peace.
Yeah. So what, you have, we talked about last time, the things that you overcame by changing your diet and how you are, pushing yourself to new levels. Now, what would be your epic goal? The thing that, and for me, I've done this, and every time I set a goal and say, if I achieve this goal, I know I'm a changed person. And then as soon as I do that, I got to set another goal because it's never good enough. But in your mind, what is that epic goal that's, if you can do this, this would be your high water mark?
So 2 years ago, it was doing an Ironman. And, ultimately it was I wanted to do Hawaii, but I never thought that was kind of a thing that would ever happen. So I was just going to do, one of the more local ones in Washington State, or, like a Coeur d'Alene actually would probably be. But then I heard about the Ultraman, and it was just like, that's the one I want to do. And so, like I was telling you before the podcast, I don't think I can get into the actual Ultraman event here in Hawaii. So either way, I'm either going to try and do an Ultraman on, the mainland, or organize my own event type thing here. I just want to do that ultra distance triathlon. I mean, I guess that's kind of it. And then once I do that, really, I think I'm done with it. I'll recreational mountain bike. I have tons of friends that are recreational mountain bikers, and that's fun for me. And, I actually like riding on the road. When I'm out there training, like you're running, it's just, if you're just out for a stroll, it's nice. If I carb up, really high, all the low carbers are rolling in their graves right now. When I just eat massive carbs on my ride, I'm just smiling the whole time, looking around, you're enjoying the sun and birds and the ocean and all that crap. And when you try and restrict on your training, or you're training too hard, you're just dreading it. It's a workout, and it sucks.
Yeah. So
as long as, you're carbing up, eating lots of fruit and stuff, and you go out there and you're enjoying this exercise, it's fun.
Yeah.
So I'll probably keep recreational mountain biking, jog and hike. And I like stuff like snowshoeing, and, it's all that stuff's pretty fun. So, I'll keep doing it. I'm definitely can be an active guy, especially when I have the energy to do it. I did it before when I didn't have the energy. I forced myself to have the energy. So, and then after that, I would like to probably try and win a state pistol championship. So, guns are my thing.
I hear you. So you say that the Ultraman will be enough for you. We'll see. I'm going to hold you to that.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe the Ultraman will happen in the time between now and then. I'll decide that, cycling really is my thing, or running really is my thing. And who knows, maybe that'll all change. I don't know. I don't really care. All I know is that that's kind of my one goal, and that's where I'm headed right now. And that's kind of the way I base everything around right now. So that's where I'm going.
I got you. Okay. All right. One question that I got from a lot of people the last time you were on, or not necessarily a question, but comment, or just kind of dropped in comments here or there, was that that you are one of these hardcore vegans, that fruit only vegan.
Yeah.
And you're not.
No,
so
I never have been, actually.
Explain to us exactly what you are, if you can put a label on it, and why you are kind of following the philosophy that you're following.
So there was a 6-month stint where I was 811, they call it, or a 100% raw vegan. And I only did that as kind of a controlled experiment to see how I felt.
Okay.
And it was pretty much 6 months exactly. I broke it. I think I told Jimmy Moore. I broke it with a bean burrito, vegetarian bean burrito. Actually, it was more than one, but we won't. So anyway,
I don't think you've ever eaten one of anything, have you?
No, I've never eaten one of anything, unless that was the only one that there was. So, but anyway, it really changed the way I thought about a lot of stuff, and now I still kind of follow kind of the main principles of that, which is mostly a plant-based diet. Majority of the calories coming from fruit, but I'm not scared to introduce, to have the animal products in there. I eat them whenever I feel like it. Sometimes that's more often than others. My breakfast this morning was a low carb. I ate a pound of raw tuna. So, I mean, and then I had to go chase it with some bananas and apples and whatever else I could find in the fridge because I didn't have any fucking energy. But anyway, I don't know, that's just kind of what I just do whatever. I've been including a lot more starches mainly for I'm testing, and they're really convenient.
Yeah.
And I've really come to the conclusion that fruit most of the time is probably the way to go. And I just do the starch. Maybe if I want to be slowed down or just kind of want some like warm kind of comfort food, I don't know. But they're convenient. You can just keep a big bag of rice in the cupboard whenever you want it.
Yeah.
Actually, I always soak it first, but that's kind of where I go. I eat pretty much everything. I stay away from almost all the grains except for rice, and I very rarely do beans. I like them, but I don't really tolerate them that well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's mostly fruit. Probably not really any red meat. I don't desire it. I don't really think I need it. As long as I'm keeping the seafood in there, I do the bivalves and the shellfish and stuff sometimes. It's not usually a lot. The most animal products I eat is probably the raw fish.
Yeah.
But
now let's
on stints of two weeks of vegan.
Okay. So let's just clarify. Let's just clarify.
Okay.
For anyone that has a question. You don't do this for moral reasons.
Nope.
You don't do this because you're an animal rights whatever guy.
Nope.
You're doing this because you. I'm sorry. What?
I said I went spearfishing twice last week.
Yeah.
So
you're doing this because you have found for you this is what your optimal fuel source is.
Yeah.
And that's just all there is to it, right?
Pretty much. And the major kind of hang up that I get with this is like, well, you're an elite athlete, that kind of stuff. I'm really not. And even when I'm not exercising at all, like almost this whole entire last month, like 2 weeks before Ironman and a week and a half after Ironman, it was like I wasn't doing any exercise. I was too busy. I was moving displays and all this crap all the time. I didn't exercise at all other than to ride my bike downhill to get to where I was going. I was putting you can look at my workout log. I think it was like, including all my commuting, I think I was doing like maybe 3-4 hours a week of exercise. That's not much. I mean, that's like not much more than damn near walking in the mailbox. But and I was still eating 4,000 calories a day of carbs. I was just keeping my fat intake low. I even ate some crap because I had nothing else to eat. I ate some vegetarian sandwich from the Lava Java, which is this restaurant that every triathlete and their brother goes to here for Ironman. But it's really good. So I even was throwing some gluten in the mix,
Wow.
Just because it felt like it was better to eat and better to have, my energy levels up than it is to just try and fast all the time. I mean, I'm not against that every once in a while, but
sure,
it's just I just like to eat. It's the bottom line.
I understand.
And I didn't gain any weight. If anything, I got leaner because my cortisol levels went down because I wasn't basically overtraining.
Wow.
Well, so
let me comment about the last time we talked. You encouraged me to befriend some carbs,
mm-hmm.
and and I did hesitantly,
Mm-hmm.
and
Know the
as you
feeling.
as you know, I had an open mind about it, but I was a little scared. I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah.
um,
Know the feeling.
because a lot of my low carb brethren have have talked about not being able to tolerate carbs and things like that. And me being a
Didn't
former
hold the
fat
stuff.
guy,
Yeah.
I'm assuming that I'm one of those guys. I'm not going to be able to tolerate it. And so,
Especially considering the low carb worked so well for you, so
oh
therefore
yeah,
it
yeah. I
must have,
mean,
right?
keep in mind that I dropped 37 pounds in 1 month. Going low carb,
Yeah.
and over 100 pounds in 6 months.
Hmm.
So just keep that in mind that this was not something that I
Can
mean
I
this was
throw in
something that
one
absolutely
little
worked.
tidbit?
What's
Okay,
that?
I gotta throw in one little tidbit for you
Yeah.
to counter that statement. I wasn't overweight. When I was in Arizona, I was totally a normal BMI, and I went down there and I reduced my calories a little bit, not much, and I ate nothing but fruit. I was over 95% carbohydrate intake, and I lost 25 pounds in 25 days.
Insane.
And not being overweight, like maybe a guy that was maybe 16 or 17% body fat.
Wow.
So, I mean, diets work, period.
It-
So,
right.
I just wanted to, that was the carb version of your story.
Yes. Well, granted. So I was a little hesitant, and I started, I started eating some berries, some more berries. I was already eating some.
Because those are kind of more low carb friendly.
They are, and
They claim they're low fructose, but they're not.
right. Well, and like everything, it depends on how much of it that you eat.
Yeah, exactly.
Two strawberries compared to 2 pounds of strawberries.
Yeah.
But one thing I immediately noticed was everything sweet tasted different to me.
Hmm.
I'd gone, over probably 9 months or so without much of anything sweet. I
Yeah.
had even cut out artificial sweeteners and stuff a long
Yeah.
time ago,
Which is good.
which is good. Yeah, I mean, I was smart enough
Even
to know that
stevia,
those
I
aren't real
don't
food.
recommend people do that. It's
Yeah,
just, yeah.
you're
If you're
just
gonna do the low
trading.
carbs, try and stay away from the sweets.
Yeah, absolutely. But one thing I noticed was I'd never really cared for strawberries. My wife loved them. I didn't really like them that much. They were always kind of bland tasting to me.
Hmm.
But I got a strawberry, and it was the most amazing strawberry I'd ever had in my life.
Oh yeah.
And one thing I started realizing was that my taste had changed because I'd gotten all that other crap out of my life, and
Hmm.
because a sweet strawberry is so different than a sweet Twix bar. You,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like that overfeeding of the
Yeah.
high fructose corn syrup,
Yep.
as opposed
And
to
you go
real
back to eat
fructose.
it. If you go back to eat a Twix bar now, it tastes really artificial.
Yeah, I mean it
It's like
probably
a
make you
weird
want to puke.
plastic texture. You have to eat like 20 of them before they start tasting good again.
Yeah, I don't I don't want that, but
No.
so, we also had, peaches and nectarines in season, and I freaking love peaches and
I know. You
nectarines. And
send me the pictures.
yeah, I'd send you the pictures, and yeah, look what I get for a buck a pound,
And I sent my $4.99 a pound.
right. And what I noticed was when I first started eating them, I gained about 5 pounds, 6 pounds, and which obviously was probably glycogen
Yep.
replenishing, that had been depleted for so long.
Carbohydrate.
Yeah, exactly. Carbohydrate. My face, filled out just a little bit, not
Yep.
bloated, but I
Yep.
wasn't quite so gaunt looking for a couple of days. And
There's a reason why bodybuilders, take diuretics before competitions to to get rid of their
yeah,
water.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But what I noticed is that after that 5 or 6 pounds, it stopped. No more weight gain,
Hmm.
and as a matter of fact, I started eating more fruit, and nothing happened, except that when I was running, it felt so much better.
Yeah, so
It
much
was
better.
so much, and I know that feeling is really subjective, and you can't really.
Yeah.
And I've heard people say,
But
I don't want to hear
that,
what you feel. That's subjective, but I don't care if it's subjective or not. It made a huge difference to me.
yeah. And what happens from there is you feel good, so you're motivated to do the exercise or whatever you enjoy,
Yeah.
and therefore the pounds start coming back off.
Right.
Because you're burning more
Yeah.
because you're doing these things, and so that's why I just hate the low carb approach anymore. I mean, as a lifestyle, I should say, it's definitely a tool, and definitely it can be used as a tool for several different things, weight loss being one of them.
Yeah.
But I don't see the point of it anymore as a lifestyle. I mean, even for sedentary people, it's just, you can sit at a desk and you can eat lots of carbs too. You just have to keep an eye on your fat, and it's, just don't eat a bunch of greasy shit while you're sitting in your desk.
Yeah. Well, that's that's one reason I changed the name of my website and changed my Twitter handle is that's not for one, my diet is not who I am.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm as a matter of fact, one of the guys on Twitter about a month ago said I'm taking the rest of the day to try to figure out what I am. Am I low carb? Am I paleo? Am I primal? Mm-hmm. And I told him, I said, man, just be a whole person and eat real food and throw the labels out. Who needs those labels, man? Just eat real food and
just guidelines.
Yeah,
just
guidelines. And just pursue being the best you that you can be. Mm-hmm. And he was like, oh man, that's and so
it's like, what a concept.
What a concept,
So it's amazing how hard of a concept that is to grasp.
Yeah.
But we've all been there.
I don't want my diet to define me. I don't want the car I drive to define me. I don't know. I'm not in junior high anymore. I don't need my brand of jeans to define me any more than I need my diet to define me. I absolutely agree with you. It's a tool. It's a very effective tool, and I have several folks
at least to a point.
What's that?
I said it can be, at least to a point.
Well, sure. But the point is understanding when the tool is no longer effective.
Yeah.
There are times when you use a hammer when you're building a porch, and when you are, you don't use a hammer to change a light bulb. You need to understand which tool is appropriate for the job.
When the bolt's stripped, you don't use the wrench anymore. You got to get a vice grip on that thing.
Exactly.
Or a die grinder,
Yep. And you got to give yourself the freedom to say, you know what, this was absolutely effective at this time. I'm glad I did it. Now it's time to shift gears and do something else. And the funny thing is when I stopped, when I gained that initial 5 pounds or so, when I started eating fruit, I then started dropping weight again. And I actually quit weighing myself because scales make you neurotic.
You wouldn't notice that 5 pounds if you wouldn't have had a scale to begin with.
Exactly.
And you cared because you felt better.
Yeah.
So what's that number matter if you're feeling better?
Yeah, but I dropped 2 pant sizes. I went from a size 34 pants to a size 32.
Nice.
I went from I started last year in size 2X shirts. Now I'm in mediums. I just bought a new hoodie. It's a size medium.
Wow, you're like same size as me now.
I've never worn a medium in my life. I think probably when I was 10.
Yeah.
So I'm smaller than I've ever been. And one thing that was really funny, I was looking back through my training logs from back in February. When I started running at late January, February. I was turning in like 13-minute miles, and now I lay back and run at 8 and change. If I'm pushing hard, I'm 7-minute miles, and so
it doesn't take very long at all.
Yeah, it's just a huge difference.
We talked about that barefoot thing too, and I was doing that for a long time, and I was just crawling around at 9:30 miles or whatever, so you don't get injured doing that.
Right.
And I get into some shoes where I can crank up the heat, and it's right down into the mid sixes. Just in a matter of like 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's another thing. Those are all tools. For different occasions, and Yeah. I've got a pair of Vibrams or Vibrams that I run in. I've got the Luna sandals that I got from Barefoot Ted, and they're great. But I don't do it every day. My Nike Frees, I've got 2 pair of those, and I love those. Those are my favorite running shoes I've ever had. So I use those mostly, and then alternate out with different things just to hit different aspects of my legs and things, or it's all tools. And I think the danger becomes when we are waving our low carb banner or our low fat banner or our barefoot banner or whatever, and whatever. I'm just going to use whatever's working for me.
Yeah.
At
Just
the
not
moment.
going to wave banners anymore.
Yeah, I'm just not going to wave banners anymore. I'm just Hank. That's what my Twitter is. I'm just Hank G. It's just me. And whatever. But anyway, so what's new with you with your blog? You've been not blogging a lot lately. What's up?
Well, it comes in spurts. I usually do it. It seems like it's right about once a month, or it comes in like spurts of 3 or something. I just kind of get a hair at my butt and kind of go on a rant or whatever. And that's all my blog is. It's just a place to just, spew diarrhea. But but I've changed the domain name. It's not fully implemented yet, but I changed it to couch2ultra.com. And I don't want the grok association. I've hated that pretty much since the get-go. But, that it was stuck and it was kind of using, and I just went with it, too lazy to change it type thing. So I'm going to start migrating over to this new domain name. And I think it'll still be kind of the same thing. It'll probably be mostly food-based because I don't really feel like talking about exercise. And I'm not an exercise expert by any means, not a trainer or anything like that. It's just because I'm coming from a damaged background, I exercise based on how I feel. It's just, a coach can't tell me that, you need to run, 6 miles every day and, do this and that. Well, some days, I might have a sore knee. Maybe I've slept funny, or whatever. And so I can't do that workout that day. So I just do my own thing, and I just try and keep it fun, because if I'm going to do a huge event like this, most of this training I feel is just, it's going to have to be fun, because there's going to be so much of it that I can't be just a drone all the time. And some people need that structure. I don't, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just want to keep it fun, because it's going to be years and years of commitment, and I don't want to be burnout and, a Mark Sisson at the end, where I'm just hating it.
Well,
so
I'm like you. I really appreciate that Mark puts such an emphasis on play, because I think that is what's lost from and Erwin LaCour goes into, that's kind of the catalyst behind his whole MoveNat thing, is that kids have fun. You don't have to, or except for American kids, you don't have to come up with regimented exercise programs where you just turn them loose and let them go do their thing, and I think we've gotten into this mindset of getting fit, we've turned it into work, that if we're going to lose weight, we're going to have to follow this regimented program. We're going to have to put in our time on the treadmill, and life shouldn't be like that.
And I've done posts on that too. Exercise doesn't have to be exercise. I don't join a gym. I went to gym for like 2 weeks one time, and like 4 years ago probably. And I just don't like it. I don't like the environment. It just like smells in there, and there's, you see all these people that are just look at me and they're like, oh, lifting in the mirror. I kind of make fun of them. I like lift and kiss my biceps while I'm doing it and stuff. And it's just, I'm just not there for that environment, and to, pick up people. And I know not all gyms are like that. And there's some gyms that are, the old iron and they're all rusty and, it's really cool. But I don't know, just
better get a tetanus shot.
Yeah, that lifting heavy stuff isn't my thing. It just never really has been. I can see how it could be. I'd like it. It's cool. I'm like, well, that guy's awesome. But,
right.
It's just my thing. But I just don't like gyms. I'd rather, strap on a pair of snowshoes and go hike up the side of cliffs on Mount St. Helens. It's
Yeah.
and let me tell you, you burn a lot of calories doing that kind of stuff. I've worn my heart rate monitors and stuff before and burned like 3,600 calories in a day, and just hiking around in snowshoes. It was fun. I was looking at I could see all the way to the coast. You can see like hundreds of miles from up there, and it's just perfect snow, and there's no tracks, and there's no people, and there's no dog barking and highways, and it was just it's just cool.
Yeah.
And it's exercise. So just do something fun.
Do you think there's a difference in people that are naturally born for endurance sports and people that are naturally born to throw around heavy stuff? Because I hear that all the time.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And then it comes from a lot of it's probably body type and stuff. You just do one thing better than others. If you're a super short, stocky guy, running's probably not going to be your thing. But you're kind of a gangly Jim Carrey looking guy like me or whatever. Maybe that's kind of more a better fit for you.
Yeah. But I used that excuse for a long time. I'm a short, stocky, fire plug kind of guy, and that was an excuse that was too easy for me to pick up.
Yeah.
And once I did the work to lose the weight, and then
But you weren't into weightlifting either, though, were you?
Well, no, not necessarily. I mean, I was always naturally pretty strong, but I wouldn't go and just lift weight all the time. I was more of a I grew up in the country and we live in the country now. And, this weekend I spent all day Saturday chopping trees with an axe and,
sweating bullets.
Yeah. Picking up logs and stacking them and stuff like that. And, to me, I'd rather do stuff like that than go push plates around all day. That's never been much of a,
yeah, that's all all I was going with that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But running wasn't your thing. It wasn't.
No.
I wasn't saying if you're short and stocky, you can't do that. It wasn't your thing. But if weightlifting would have been your thing, then you would be maybe better adapted for that.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. But
doesn't mean you have to.
Exactly. So I told you the last time we talked that I didn't like bananas. You had encouraged me to get some bananas, and I said I don't like them. And you told me, well, you're probably not eating them ripe enough, and yeah, whatever. So I got some bananas, and I left them sitting on the counter until they got all spotted up, and I peeled one, and I kind of liked it. So it's like, well, it's not too bad. So I started eating some, and I was like, it's not so bad. And
my brother's just like you, just so you know. I've got him eating them too. He couldn't even put them to his tongue. He hated the texture so much. And now I just talked to him today. He's able to get a couple of them down a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll eat plain raw bananas 3 or 4 times a week. I'll eat one. But what I found that is amazing is frozen bananas.
Oh,
and I'll buy a whole bunch of bananas. And I sent you a picture the other day. A grocery store close to me had a bunch of overripe bananas for like 19 cents a pound, and I bought tons of them. And I bring them home and I peel them and I chop them into quarters and I throw them in a Ziploc bag and put them in the freezer. And then you can take those bad boys and put them in the blender and make banana ice cream.
Mm-hmm. I've got all kinds of recipes on my website.
Oh my gosh. Wait
till you do that with the bananas in Hawaii. You think that stuff that you're eating is good.
Oh,
it's like
man.
Dog vomit compared to what I'm eating.
Well, I'll take some, I buy these big bags of frozen assorted fruit that'll have pineapples and peaches and strawberries and mangoes and different crap like that. And I'll throw those in the blender.
They're fairly inexpensive, I might add. Those mixed berry things are actually not priced that bad. Sometimes they're cheaper than the fresh stuff.
Yeah, I get
on the mainland.
I get 8-pound bags for like $8 or $9, something like that from Sam's Club, which is like Costco.
That's really reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, so I have a little mini freezer that is full of dad stuff, and it's everybody stays out of it. It's full of my fruit and stuff like that. And,
it used to be meat, but now it's fruit.
Well, I still enjoy some meat now.
Oh, I know.
I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie,
I'm teasing.
but yeah, but the freezer is full of my fruit, and that's what I usually eat for breakfast and lunch every day because I typically go running at lunch, and I
And it really
found
does make you feel lighter and faster.
it does. I'm not gonna lie, I found that if I make a huge pitcher of fruit in the morning and I start with frozen bananas and then throw all my other fruit in there, that I can have half of that pitcher for breakfast and then pour it up in this big mug that I have and take it to work with me
Hmm.
and have the rest of it as my post workout. I'm full. I'm energized. I just feel great, and so and then typically have a
And you don't stitch up.
no, I don't stitch up at all. Although I've been experimenting, the last couple months I've done some a lot of crazy experiments with just trying different foods and stuff. And the last thing, last weekend we had a big family reunion, and I ate a bunch of barbecue pork, without barbecue sauce and stuff, but just
Yeah.
smoked Boston butt.
Yeah, you kept it pretty paleo.
Yeah, I kept it. It was real paleo, and man, it was it was very satisfying, very satiating, to the point that I felt like I was being smothered with a wet blanket.
Yeah.
I was so stuffed, and for no lie, for 3 days after eating, and I overate. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
paint this, in any great
You,
light.
it just the extreme showed you what it was really doing
Exactly.
on a larger scale, so that you could actually tell what it was doing versus meat doesn't bog me down, but yeah, if you see, I eat so much that's me all the time.
Yeah, man, I was 3 days. I stitched up when I would run. I felt like I felt like I was running underwater. I mean, my
Burping green
legs were
gas.
heavy. God, the first day, that Sunday afternoon, my son Ian and I went running, and I told him that I felt like I had a backpack on turned around so that the pack was in front of me, and it was just sloshing back and forth. Man, I just felt awful.
Yeah.
But so now I know. But
How was your digestion too?
oh man, it was things were not right for days. I'll just put it
Yeah.
that way. Now the funny thing is beef and chicken doesn't seem to do that to me. Or I'm not eating as much. I don't know.
Yeah. Pork
but
makes me really tired.
yeah,
I
pork.
found that out when I was on a paleo diet. I did a metabolic typing test,
Yeah.
and it said pork wasn't for me, and I was like, you know what? It really hasn't been.
Yeah. Yeah, well that's what I figured that, and I think typically when I eat
Maybe that's why
beef.
some cultures that don't eat it.
Yeah, yeah. There's probably some wisdom in that, but
Yeah.
when I eat beef, it's generally not dripping in fat, whereas the pork is just literally dripping in fat.
Yeah.
And chicken is pretty low fat, and I'm just at this point for the activity level I'm at, I just can't do it, man. I'm just ugh. But
Yeah.
but this week, speaking of starches and stuff, this weekend, I decided to get some beans and soak them. Soaked them for more than 24 hours.
Good.
Soaked some rice. Got long grain. Whole rice. Soaked it out. Overnight. For more than 24 hours. Then cooked them slow. Did the whole.
Yeah.
The whole Weston Price thing.
Yep.
Kept it. As legit as possible, and ate some Saturday and yesterday and felt like mud. Oh man,
Yeah.
digestion was awful.
They slow me down too. White rice is the only one that I found that isn't quite like that. It still slows me down, but not like potatoes. Or potatoes are almost, to me, are almost like that pork you ate. As much as I really want to be
Really?
into a potato type diet,
Yeah.
and I think it's probably pretty healthy, and a lot of cultures have eaten that way, and starches are maybe what changed us into humans that we know now. Who knows? But yeah, I think it's generally pretty healthy. But yeah, it bogs me out, and I like burping green gas, and they just don't do anything for me. And I'm eating good stuff too, like organic Okinawa sweet potatoes, stuff like that.
Now,
I'm not eating that.
I haven't eaten much white potatoes, but sweet potatoes, I'll have some once a week, twice a week on an ambitious week, and
Mm-hmm.
they don't bother me. The sweet potatoes are almost like fruit for me. They just
Have you
I
tried
get
them
it.
before a run though?
No, I haven't had them right before a run. I'll typically have them early in the evening, like
Yeah.
5 o'clock or something, and by the time noon comes around the next day, I'm fine. So I don't know.
So
I
when I
haven't.
started tinkering with the starches, I was emailing with Durian Rider, and he's like, if you're gonna do them, I obviously am on board with him that fruit is the best. But he said if you're gonna do the starches, do them at night, and it really makes a lot of sense. Like I said, he's actually a pretty smart guy. You just got to understand him. But it makes sense because you eat it at night, and they're going to slow you down more than the fruit, but they still turn into the same glucose.
Right.
So you're going to be charged back up in the morning. As long as you slept well, you're going to be topped off in the morning. So that's generally when I eat them is at night. If I eat them during the day, I know that it's going to affect the way that I perform.
Yeah.
Period. And it isn't going to be as enjoyable.
Well,
sometimes I still want to eat them during the day, so I do. And you usually see it in my workout log. It's like, yeah, I was bogged out, didn't feel it. I pretty much tell you how I feel.
well, I've figured out what makes me feel good when I go run, and I'm not monkeying with that much.
Yeah.
And if
but
it
you
stops,
should a little bit.
well,
because there might be something that works a little bit better for you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm with you. It's it's the fruit and the blended fruit and stuff before you run. I mean, you really can't beat it, but you might tinker with it a little bit just to see, because maybe you're gonna do an event and the only thing that's available is some boiled potatoes or something like that, and you need to know how. Or you're staying at a hotel and you can't have what you normally have the night before.
right.
And so you got to know how you're going to feel when you do eat potatoes or whatever the night before,
Right.
That ultra marathon that you want to do or whatever. So it's just, you got to tinker with it a little bit, I think.
Absolutely. Well, I have I've determined that my mind is open. I'm not going to say what I'm not going to do. That's
Yeah.
I'm open for anything. I know for a fact I'm not going to eat 1.5 pounds of pork and then go run. That I've marked that one off the list. That's a for definite.
You know what? I've actually done that before. I ate an entire 5.5 quart crock pot that had an entire pork roast in it that was wrapped in bacon, and I had it full of Brussels sprouts, and I ate that whole freaking crock pot, and then I went and ran a half marathon.
Oh my God, I just almost puked, right? Just listening to that.
It's pretty rough for like the first 8 miles, and then it starts kind of, you're moving down, and then it's like, okay, now I've got all this food in me that's kind of becoming fuel, and you don't feel so bad. But yeah, the first little while though, you're like, I just want to about blow chips. Yeah. There's so much water and salt and vegetables and stuff that just don't digest very quickly. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I've done all of that. So when people say, "Oh, you can do this," and I'm like, "Dude, I've done it all. Trust me." And I have very tight control on it too, so I know exactly how it responds.
Wow.
Might respond differently for somebody else, but I know how it's working.
Yeah.
Because I've tested it, and I have no blinders on it all anymore.
I hear you. So now you mentioned stitching up. Did starches make you stitch up?
The potatoes will. The rice can if I ate too much, and usually I do eat too much.
Yeah.
That's how much I need to eat or whatever. So let's see, what I found is when I do my fruit smoothies like yours, they're usually a half gallon or more.
Yeah.
And if I do those if I do a half gallon or more let's say 2 hours, maybe an hour before a run, the fruit can stitch me if I start too fast. But the rice, I've got to probably delay it at least 4 or 5 hours if I, a full meal of it before I can run. And then I'm probably still going to it's still going to slow me down for maybe like the first half of the run. And then the second half will be, it'll kind of be moving through better. But yeah, the fruit makes a big difference. And if I just do like a normal size smoothie or whatever, it's just like a rocket. Like you said, it just makes you feel so good. But it's easy to kind of get into a calorie deficit when you're doing that too. Just like the athletes that are only eating goos. If I'm only eating kind of the fruit in smaller quantities and stuff, it's really not quite enough calories. So you go on these runs and you're burning, it's an hour run or whatever, and you burn 600, 700, 800 calories or whatever, just depending on your pace. I mean, you'd have to eat 6, 7, 8 bananas to replace that.
Right.
So, and 6, 7, 8 bananas is probably a good chance that would stitch you. So you're kind of running on a deficit. And that's actually why I think that my vegan stints only last about 2 weeks, because I'm totally on board with the low-fat raw vegans when they say, you're craving all these other foods because you're not eating enough. I think there's a lot of validity to that, and I think that's why after about 2 weeks or so, where I'm maybe in a caloric deficit, even though I'm eating tons of fruit, that fish starts really sounding good. A pound and a half of raw tuna or something's like, oh yeah, well that's a lot of calories.
Yeah.
And it really is a comfort food. I eat that and it just, bogs me down, and, I just kind of sit on the couch and there's a whole bunch of calories. I'm like, yeah, time for an Adam Sandler movie. Yeah. And so, I mean, that's kind of what happens. That's usually what breaks those vegan stints for me. But during those times I did I think 12 Olympic triathlons it was like 9 Olympic triathlons in like 12 days.
Dang.
And or longer, actually. A bunch of them were longer. And I was basically a fruit vegan the whole time during that, and I just kept going and kept going and kept going. The only reason I stopped is because I literally forced myself to take a day off. And then I ate a bunch of fish or something. Didn't want to do anything the next day.
But isn't that, and you and I have talked about this a little bit, isn't that kind of more in line with our heritage, our genetic makeup, is that some days
kind of binge eat.
Yeah, some days are kind of bingey, some days are kind of really clean and low intake days, and some days you just need to I'm not into.
I don't know if when they got a big kill like that, if they really did binge on it, because they had to take it back. They had to take it back too. So
well, yeah, but you can't store that stuff, I mean, unless what are you going to do with it until they figured out salt curing and stuff? What are you going to do with it?
They take it back to the village and stuff though too. So I mean, I don't know anything about this at all, but
Right.
they kill it and they eat some of it so they can get their energy stores back up. But you don't want to, just like you and that pork, you don't want to eat 2 pounds of crap and just sit there and gurgle bubbles and you have to carry this whatever, hundreds of pounds of gazelle back to your your tribe. So I don't really know if they did. They probably went after the organs and stuff first, of course, and then maybe they just kind of ate probably a little bit more normal and carried it back there, and they had to share it too, because that's their job.
Right.
Everybody else is back weaving baskets and picking tubers, and they were out chasing the animals. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm just theorizing.
Me too, and and I'm definitely not into a reenactment kind of thing. I could care less, but what I do find interesting is it's just hard for me to believe that our ancestors maintained some sort of macronutrient breakdown every day.
Yeah, they just ate food.
I think they just ate food, and some days, some sweet potatoes or some sort of tuber sounded good. It was what was on hand. It was satisfying. Some days, they wanted to go out and haul in some meat, and I just think we ought to give ourselves the freedom to understand that some days are just going to be different. Some days, as long as we're eating real food, my God, who gives a rip,
That's really why I like the way that I do things now. I really have a healthy relationship with food now.
Exactly.
I won't say that I'm not mindful sometimes of my intake, because I think that's just so ingrained by now, but I really don't care. I just ate a whole huge pile of rice with tomatoes and salsa and stuff on it. And I really don't care. I'm not worried about what I'm going to look like in the morning, because I know if anything I'm going to get leaner. And so it's just, I eat tons of carbs and I feel good and I don't worry about it. It's completely healthy, so I don't have any of that stress, that might be inhibiting my weight loss or whatever in that part. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I just don't care anymore. I don't count calories. I did for like a week or two there just so I could see if I was maybe getting enough.
Right.
And just kind of check, maybe if I had any sort of place where I was deficient in any sort of vitamin, which I don't even know why I do, because every time I do it, my stats are like 5 times what the USDA recommends because I eat so much. But, and I was sitting right about 4,000 calories a day and I wasn't exercising. So, I mean, I know where I'm at now, and I don't log my food until after I'm all done eating whatever I want. That way I'm not like, oh, okay, that was only 500 calories. Well, I can eat another banana because that'll get, I can eat 600 calories and I won't gain weight, and it's just, don't get all freaked out about it anymore. Just
right.
Enter it in there. Oops. Oh, geez, I ate 5,000 calories today. Maybe I should not eat so damn much for breakfast in the morning or something. I just,
right.
I don't care. They just ate real food. And like you said, it was probably different macronutrients at different times. I don't think they prepared these big elaborate meals with all these, different little, gotta eat my little green thing here because it's got vitamin A. They didn't even know what a damn vitamin was until like, 100 years ago or whatever. just silly. I mean, they knew that to prevent scurvy, you ate some fruit, things like that. Traditional stuff that got passed down, but, and they knew that, maybe eating some shellfish for the inland people was healthy. Maybe it was the B12 they were deficient in. I don't know. I haven't studied that crap. People like Chris Masterjohn probably know stuff like that, but I don't. So I'll just read whatever they write,
Absolutely.
But,
well,
I don't know. Just eat food.
Absolutely. Well, Grok, it's been an hour already. I can't believe this is a fast hour that's gone by, but,
yeah.
Eat real food, get up, move around, find something that you really enjoy. What other advice would you have for people out there?
And keep it fun.
Keep it fun.
And I don't know, just don't read into the science too much. I mean, that's my only other thing. These people get so caught up in studies, and it just becomes study dick measuring. It's like for every study that comes out, there's 1,000 that counter that study. So it's just they're performed in different ways and they're funded by different people and stuff. I don't know. It just bores me to tears to read that stuff anymore, and I just frankly don't care. It's like,
yeah,
radiation and bananas. You see this stuff on the internet. It's it's supposed to scare you with it. And one of my friends sent me an article on banana radiation, and they were talking about how you got to eat like 4,000 bananas just to get the same radiation as a mammogram or whatever. It's like a
so
million.
your lunch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, it's just funny. They were talking about using banana as the new standard for radiation. It was a Joker article. I don't remember what side it was on, but yeah, it was funny.
That's funny.
But I mean, just don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Gosh, life is too damn short to worry about that kind of crap. If you have a specific disease that you're trying to cure or whatever, I can see that. Somebody with a gut disorder and they kind of have to eat certain foods for a certain way for a while, and regulate that. But once you kind of get it under control, maybe it's time to just like your weight. It's just time to kind of try and get back to normal.
Yeah.
And not maybe so stressed out about everything all the time. Stress isn't good either.
Yeah. And give yourself the freedom to own those accomplishments and move on. I was a fat guy one time. I'm not anymore. And I'm gonna stop living like a fat guy. I'm not. I got fat by obsessing over everything, and I'm just not gonna live that way anymore. I'm gonna enjoy my life. You can
go run with him.
What's that?
I said, how cool does your kid think it is that you can go run with him now?
Oh man, it's yeah. He's turned 16 this summer, and we're enjoying a relationship that I've always been close with my kids, but being able to go out and push ourselves, and he goes to school, and kids are saying, hey, I saw you and your dad out running yesterday, and it's a cool thing. I'm grateful for that. Absolutely.
Exactly. And you're not the fat dad anymore.
Exactly. They were like, man,
these other kids, their dad's sitting there, on the couch just eating a bunch of greasy crap, watching TV and the news and stuff, and you're out there running with them, and that's going to make a difference, I think, in his life too.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. I mean, it's a good thing in so many ways that you did.
It's I just had to get fed up enough one day to decide to take my life back, and I've got it back, and I'm going to enjoy my life now. So,
and it's only going to get better.
Yeah. And thanks to folks like you that are constantly pushing and prodding and stirring the pot and instigating, and I appreciate it.
I really don't do that so much intentionally. It's just something for me to do. I just get bored sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, what's this guy thinking? Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know why people get so wound up about it. But, I guess we've all done it. I've done it. I'd be a hypocrite if I said I didn't. But
absolutely. Well, brother, thanks for
as much as anybody.
Well, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And
thanks for having me.
Thanks for giving me your time. And we'll stay in touch. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.